microphone again, usual thing. I hope you can all hear me. Sorry, you're getting to see my t-shirt. How you all doing? Oh, what a day I've had. What a day. I am so tired. Really tired today. So if you are watching, please give us a like and drop a comment if you can into the comments section. I'd love to know what you're up to. Sorry, I'm just adjusting the camera because it's all wrong. So yeah, let me know what you're up to. Drop some comments. I see that Gary and Lana were on the chat earlier. For some reason when I set the time for the show, it didn't change it. So I'll get the hang of this eventually. I managed to tonight put an actual proper thumbnail on the live, so that was a change. That was a challenge as well, because I had to. So what I've got to do is I make the thumbnail on my phone, then I have to email it to myself, take it on my laptop off of my email to load it onto YouTube on my laptop. So yeah, I need to get the right software to use on my laptop so it saves me time and hassle. But unfortunately, yeah, that's for the future. Right now, at the moment, I am so busy with my running. It is, yeah, it's really hectic at the moment. Today I ran 7.5 kilometers. Luckily the weather was pretty good, so it was dry. I thought it was going to rain, but it didn't, thank goodness. It was. Can everybody hear me? Let me know if you can hear me. Drop us a comment if you can hear me, because I just had to plug the microphone in because I forgot to plug it in before, so I've not done a test. So yeah, I did a 7.5 kilometer run today in the forest, and I started off really well. I started off fast, good pace going, did some strides because the first part I run is uphill. So I did some strides up there, that helped, then shortened my pace again, my steps again. Hi Trip, great, thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining me, love. So I shortened my pace again, get to the top of that, then there's a bit of a flat and then there's a downhill, which is great. I love downhill. And then after the downhill, there's a few flats, and then I go around the lake, but it's like a hilly part of the lake. It's like a really hilly trail. So it's like up and down, lots of routes. So that's exhausting. That's really tiring. And then I'm along a tarmac road by the lake again. I saw some cygnets and some ducklings today, which was really lovely. Hi, Elle. Yeah, I've just started, my darling, just started. So I saw cygnets and ducklings, and then I'd actually had to direct some people where to go, because the forest there can get quite disorienting if you aren't, used to. I've been running there for years, so I know that forest like the back of my hand. I know all the sort of off trails a bit as well as the main trails. So every time I kept running past them, I directed them which way to go, and then I saw them, and then I saw them again anyway. So I have this split in one of the pathways where I go eeny, meeny, miny, mo. And I went the way that the mo went, but I should have gone the other way, because going that way takes me, I get a nice downhill, then it's a gradual incline, then it's flat, and then the hill after that is absolutely massive. It is an absolute nightmare. It's really one of those hills that you can see the top of, but when you get to the top of it, there's actually more of it. And it's like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? And it was coming to the end of my run. So I ended up having to walk up the hill. That was a bit of a trudge, a bit of a trek. Then the top of that, it goes flat again, and then a slight dip, and then I'm onto the tarmac again. So I ran down the tarmac, and actually that went really well. I think because I'd had two gels on the run. I'm sort of trying to take them a bit earlier now because I found that if I take them earlier, they tend to kick in quicker. Because I have a bowl of porridge in the morning, then I go on my run, and on the way to the forest when I'm doing my long run, I have half a banana. I can't eat a whole banana at once, my stomach won't allow me, but at least with the gels it's liquid, so that's not too bad. So then running down the actual tarmac on the road towards my car, and then I went into a sprint at the end, so I was really pleased with that. My stats on the sprint were really good. Which class? Do you pre-angle your feet up when running uphill or land with toes, then use more calf muscles? Okay, there's a few ways to do it, but what I do as running up hills, I can hear Kate Bush in my head, is I go into strides now. So I'm trying to do strides up the hill, so it's if I'm grabbing the floor with my feet, but no, downhill, my heels, I'm leaning back on my heels more because I don't want to overstep and then sort of do the shearing motion. Yes, it does help. It does use less energy. So that's when you are running uphill, yes. The strides make, you're sort of like, yeah, grabbing with your feet. If you know what, I'm going to have to check that tomorrow because I've never really thought about that. Because I feel it in my thighs more than anything. I don't get cramp in my calves, I don't get cramp in my thighs, and I don't get blisters anymore. Touch wood, wooden desk. So the part that gets sore is my ankle, where I've got my ankle injury, but today no problems. And then my toes, the tips of my toes, because my toes are hammer toes, and the tips of my toes touch the sock and the sole of my shoe, so they sort of rub. So sometimes I have to put plasters on until those calluses are formed. So yeah, running channel has a bunch of tips. Which running channel is it, Trip? Let me know, because I'm training with a guy called Chris McPherson at the moment, and he's brilliant, and it's like a 10-day thing that he's doing online, and it's free, the advice that he's giving us, and it's really, really, really working. I can feel the difference already. But I have to be careful with how I put my right foot down because of my ankle. So my whole right leg is running slightly differently to my left leg. So it's a bit of a challenge. But, 7.5K today was hard. I really, really struggled with that distance. So I'm going to struggle on Sunday. But I did the 7.5K in 1 hour and 11 minutes, which to me is not that bad. And I do pretty much a kilometre in 8 minutes. So that's what, another 2.5, isn't it? So should be like 1 hour and 39-40 minutes that I do it in, so fingers crossed. And that was with quite a bit of walking as well, but that hill is not part of the route, thank the goddess. If it was, I would be probably dragging myself up by my fingernails. But I know that I need to not sprint out too fast at the start. I need to keep my pace to my normal pace until there's space around me, because that's going to be the hardest thing, is because I run on my own. I don't like running with other people, so finding that space amongst other people where I can pick my line, and this is the route that I want to go without people bashing into me. So it's always difficult at the start of a race because there's so many people in the same place at the same time. So yeah, it was a big challenge, and I'm tired. I'm feeling very, very tired this afternoon. I've not done much, to be honest. I still have to go and do the litter trays for my cats and put the bins out because it's bin night, but everything else can wait. Sorry, I'm rubbing my back. It's a bit tight in the center of my back, so sort of, it's actually called the running channel. Okay, let me write that down. Same piece of paper as last time, Trip. But I remembered which research you were talking about, the running channel. I'll check that out later and see what I can glean from there. So yeah, just I'm just hoping to finish. That's all. I just want to finish that race. So the rest of the week, I am going to be doing short runs. It's my 3.78 kilometre route, which sometimes shows up as 3.64, sometimes it's 3.76, but it's actually 3.78. Why it changes, I don't know, because I run the same route all the time. You're just defrosting the freezer, Elle. You are more than welcome to come and defrost my freezer. It needs doing desperately. And it's full, and I don't want to do it when it's full, so I'm going to have to wait till it's emptier. Speaking about defrosting freezers, my ex decided to defrost the freezer once, and he left the fridge on while he was defrosting the freezer, and I was like, what are you doing? Completely clueless. Anyway, so yeah, this week, short runs, 3.78 kilometres, and there will be some strides and some sprints in that. So tomorrow will be a slow run after today's mega distance run. But yeah, that's all I can do. That's all I can do. I didn't have enough time to do the full 10K training. Stuff happened, as it does in life, so I'm just going to do what I can do. More evidence to hide, Elle Chaos. Yeah, you got more evidence to hide. So, yeah, I don't want to talk about what's going on in the world of politics because it's just so depressing right now, and I'm trying to avoid the headlines at the minute. Used to like defrosting the freezer, big slabs of ice to smash up. Trip, you would have loved my previous fridge because the ex kicked the door and buckled the door so it wouldn't close properly, it wouldn't seal. And he said to me, this was a couple of weeks before he left me, and he said to me, oh look, the door of the fridge won't close. I'm like, well, I haven't been here because I was at my dad's. My dad was, you know, passing away at the time, so I'd been with my mum looking after my dad. And so I used to get so the freezer would just freeze up completely. So I had a space at the top where I could put things into, and I used to get a hammer and a big screwdriver, and I would hammer away at the ice to chip it out so I could get things out of the freezer. My ex is seal. No, he's not a seal. He's a see you next Tuesday. Which I must tell you about that because it's really funny. I probably told the story a couple of times in a couple of videos, but I don't know if I've told it live. No, he kicked the fridge door, the freezer door on the fridge, and buckled the door. There was a big dent in it, and you know, so basically it wouldn't seal when it was closed. So I used to try and push it close and taped it and everything, but it would just obviously defrosting and freezing, so it was just a massive slab of ice. And when they came to deliver my new fridge, I sold jewellery, so I had cash to go and buy my new fridge. Because he bought this fridge because he'd broken my other fridge, which was actually second hand anyway. But anyway, so he bought the new fridge, but it was tiny. He didn't look at the measurements anyway. So I went and looked at Curry's at this fridge, and I had it delivered, and they took away my old fridge, and the guy said, have you defrosted it? I said, well, I've tried, but the bottom is a massive block of ice. And he looked at it, he said, oh. I'm like, yeah, sorry, but he did take it, bless him. It was a really nice guy. Sorry, I'm going to have a sip of water. So I'll tell you the funny story about my ex. If I haven't already, I'm sorry if I'm boring you, but it was a few months after he'd left. And I got this letter in the post box, and it was a paper, you know, one of these padded envelopes, A5 size. And on the front, it said to Connie Lingus. So I knew it was him immediately. I'm like, yeah, he's calling me a C unit. Knew it was from him. And it was from a firm that does fake grass. And he knew that I detest that stuff. It's plastic. It heats up to a ridiculous temperature. You can't walk on it. It's disgusting. And it's plastic. And I'd rather have weeds than plastic grass. So he'd sent that to me, basically calling me a see you next Tuesday, but I thought it was hilarious. I actually thought it was funny. I really, really did. I thought, yeah, that's him. That's him all over. So yeah, it was quite funny, but you know, a bit rude. He knew it would piss me off. Oops, swore already, but I don't get monetized on this channel, so I guess it's okay. He knew that it would upset me, and it didn't though. It was like, I looked at it and I knew, I'm just crossing my legs. I knew it was him. I'm like, oh yeah, just, you know, he was 5 years old in his head. Anyway, I want to start with the first story today that I found, which is really quite terrifying, but also quite funny. It's from Sustainability Times, Green News on Tech, Business and the Environment. And this is from the 18th of March this year. So what I do is when these stories come up on my phone, I just screenshot them so that I can go back and read the story, you know, when I'm doing a live or whatever, or do a video about it. Anyway, massive marine worms over 6 feet long unearthed beneath the ocean floor. A mind-bending discovery rewriting marine biology. 6 foot long worms. 6 foot long. Seal the Singer. Yeah, I used to love him. He was really good, wasn't he? Kissed by a Rose. That was the one song that he had. So 6 foot long worms. A recent groundbreaking expedition has unveiled a hidden ecosystem beneath the ocean floor, where massive marine worms thrive in secretive underwater cavities, challenging previous assumptions about life's adaptability in extreme environments. I just think it's terrifying. These giant 6 foot worms. I don't like worms. I won't kill them, and I won't, but if, you know, when I'm digging in the garden and there's a gigantic worm, I just sort of, I wear gardening gloves, pick it up and move it out of the way, because I just don't like them. Slugs are my least favourite. Did you know that there are white slugs? They're called ghost slugs. What's the name? They're from a foreign country that came over here on plant pots or something, and they have them in Wales, but they live deep underground, and they do actually eat worms. They are carnivorous. What's the name? Ghost something worms, slugs. Yeah, they look terrifying. They don't have eyes on the end of their feelers because they live underground. Yeah, I was reading about them last night. I was actually reading a book it's by Graham Masterton, called The House of 100 Whispers. It's a horror, clearly. And this guy had to get these worms to try and break this spell to stop this demon thing. And he had to get like 9 of these slugs, and stick cloves into them. And then they had to walk up the wall. So it's like, you have to go and see if these things actually really exist. And of course they do. So yeah, nightmare fodder there for you. Whoever's watching, please give us a like if you can, and drop us a comment. Let me know what you're doing, what you're up to. Have a chat in the comments with the other people there, if you'd like. Try and keep the comments civil and polite and nice and friendly, and, you know, just let's be nice to each other. There's so much rubbish going off in the world right now. There really is. And I just can't be bothered with all of this stuff. Like today, when I got out of my car to go for my run, I get my vest on and I sort of do a few stretches by the car. I've already done stretches at home, but I do some by the car as well. And there was this couple, and they had a map of the forest in front of them. And I was like, hiya, do you need some help? And they're like, yeah, where are we? I said, well, they want to go to the lake, and they were walking that way. And I said, no, the lake's that way. So I directed them. So they found the lake. But I mean, you know, a lot of people would just walk past. But I always help people if they look lost. You know, I know that forest like the back of my hand. So are you sure? They said, yeah, I run this forest every week, sometimes twice a week. Absolutely 100% sure. So coming back to this article about the 6-foot long worms, the ocean has long captivated scientists and enthusiasts alike with its vast and mysterious depths. The diversity of life it harbours, from the tiniest plankton to the largest whales, continues to intrigue researchers. Recent discoveries have revealed even more about this underwater world, challenging our understanding of how life thrives in extreme environments. A groundbreaking discovery now sheds light on the existence of giant marine worms inhabiting hidden underwater cavities, prompting renewed interest in how life adapts to seemingly inhospitable conditions. A recent expedition has uncovered a hidden world beneath the ocean floor that challenges previous assumptions about subsea floor life. Giant marine worms were discovered in secretive underwater cavities within the East Pacific Rise, a volcanically active region at the junction of tectonic plates. This exploration was conducted using the Schmidt Ocean Institute's research vessel, the Falkor. Wasn't Falkor the name of the in Neverending Story? The big white dragony thing? And a remotely operated submarine named Sub-B Astane. By lifting pieces of the ocean floor crust, researchers were able to glimpse the remarkable ecosystem living beneath. Dr. Monica Bright and Dr. Sabine Gollner led this groundbreaking mission and shared their findings in the journal Nature Communications. Their research highlights how these worms, along with snails and synthetic bacteria, thrive in conditions previously thought to be inhospitable to complex life forms. Such discoveries underscore the ocean's capacity to support diverse life forms in even the most challenging environments. So how cool is that? You know, they live in these ocean vents. The article goes on. Studies' findings reveal that the subsea floor crust, previously believed to harbour only microbes and viruses, is also home to life forms like the giant tube worm Riftia pachyptla. These worms, which can grow up to 1.6 feet long, rely on chemosynthetic bacteria to convert inorganic chemicals into nutrients, enabling them to survive in this extreme environment. The team's exploration found that these creatures use the hidden cavities as natural shelters, where temperatures remain moderate at around 75 degrees Fahrenheit, that's 24 degrees centigrade, due to geological activity. So that's not so bad, is it? It's not that cold. That's really interesting. Dr. Sabine Gollner expressed amazement at how life finds ways to thrive in such extreme conditions. The discovery that these animals can inhabit dark cracks beneath the ocean floor, beyond the visible hydrothermal vents, illustrates the resourcefulness of life when space and nutrients are available. This revelation expands our understanding of the complex ecosystems that exist beneath the Earth's ocean. So yeah, that's like pretty scary. I mean, it's interesting that these gigantic worms live there, but what if they adapt and move to land? Just saying. Great idea for a horror story. Great idea for a horror story. Right, so that's the first story I wanted to have a look at. Then also to do with the sea, from the same newspaper or newsletter, Sustainability Times, scientists create heat-resistant supercorals that could save entire marine ecosystems from collapse. This is from March 22nd this year. And I think that's amazing, because a lot of you probably know that the coral reef, the one in Australia, I can't remember the blooming name now, the coral is all fading from the sun, and coral does fade from the sun. Sunlight does fade it because of UV and the changes in the atmosphere and, climate change. Coral is fading, and that beautiful life structure, because it is a life, it is living, is being eroded and killed by human beings, basically. So the groundbreaking study, scientists have successfully bred heat-resistant corals, marking a significant advancement in efforts to protect vulnerable marine ecosystems from the devastating effects of climate change. And I'll link this into the description box afterwards. In fact, maybe I could link it now into the comments section. Let me see if I can do that so you can have a look at the picture. Oh, that's a huge link. Bear with me. It's too long. It is too long to go in there. So I can't do it at the moment while live. Sorry guys, it's too long. But I will add it on after I've gone live, afterwards. So, oh, go away. Sorry, adverts coming up. So the rest of the article, coral reefs are vital to marine ecosystems and provide unparalleled biodiversity and economic value. However, they face severe threats from climate change, particularly rising ocean temperatures that lead to coral bleaching. Recently, a team of scientists made a groundbreaking advancement by successfully breeding corals with enhanced heat tolerance. This development, while promising, highlights the urgent need for continued research and global action to protect these precious marine habitats for future generations. Selective breeding has been a cornerstone of agricultural practices, but its application in marine conservation is relatively novel. The research study by Newcastle University's Corallists Lab marks the first time adult corals have been selectively bred for heat tolerance. This research aims to bolster coral resilience to increasingly frequent marine heat waves, which have already caused widespread coral bleaching and mortality. By enhancing corals' heat tolerance, scientists hope to aid in the adaptation of coral reefs to our warming oceans. You know, like years ago, I would have had a sort of adverse reaction to genetically modified or, you know, sort of creating these, this kind of thing because it's not natural. But, you know, if we're going to save the planet, we're going to have to do things like this. People go on about genetically modified food, right? But the food we eat is actually genetically modified. Like if you grow tomatoes, my granddad used to do this, and you get a paintbrush and you go and tickle the flowers of the tomatoes so that they all pollinate each other. With apple trees, you normally have to have 2 apple trees together so that they cross-pollinate. With roses, if you want to, you can cut a piece off of one rose onto another rose. You can, I can't remember what they call it now. You sort of create a nick into the side of the rose, but keep the edge of the, and you pop that in so it's like at an angle, and then you tape it on, and that rose will grow. So you will create new types of roses, different kinds of roses. That's how we have all these different kinds of roses. So genetic modification currently does happen. I think that's really interesting that these guys have made this, you know, this heat-resistant coral. I think it's really cool. What do you guys think? Let me know. Dr. James Guest, a leading expert in coral reef ecology, emphasizes that while selective breeding could be a vital tool, it is not without challenges. The study showed a modest increase in heat tolerance, approximately 1 degree centigrade over a week, which underscores the need for urgent climate action to make such interventions impactful. Guest also points out the complexity of introducing selectively bred corals to wild populations without diluting their desirable traits, further complicating conservation efforts. And, you know, we're doing, I think, most of the people that follow my channel, and, you know, you all sort of follow other channels that I watch as well, like Graham at Politics Social and so on. We know that climate change is real. We know that it's going to end up, you know, changing the planet in a way that human beings may not be able to tolerate and survive. And the sort of things that may happen in that situation could be absolutely, completely terrifying. Trip, we've been changing our food supply for hundreds of years by using genetics. I think it's fine. Yeah, me too. You know, it's just when they put like, you know, hormones into beef and cattle and that sort of thing, that because that will create extra hormones in a human being and change the hormone levels in a person. Or if you're feeding it to a cat or a dog, you know, it's going to change those hormone levels in that person. But yeah, it is part of, I mean, this is why we have so many different types of tomatoes, so many different types of geraniums, you know, they all, I mean, I grow geraniums from, you know, if a piece falls off, I just stick it in water, it starts to root, and then I just plant it in a pot when the roots are long enough. I grow aloes. I don't know how I grow them, but they just seem to sprout and spread. And I've got one original aloe plant, was about that big when I got it from a woman that I worked with, and I planted it, and I've now got about 50 aloe plants around my house, and I've given loads away, and they just keep spreading. But I use them for my skin. So keeping on the ice theme, God knows what's in the ice caps if they melt, revealing a microbe we have come across as it's dormant for thousands of years. Yeah, absolutely. There was in Siberia, some of the ice melted, and I think there were reindeer remains in the ice, and there was a virus that was in there, and it did kill quite a lot of the people in that area, but they managed to contain it in that area. Let me see if I can find that article, because I remember reading about that. Let's have a look. Okay, there's lots of information here on zombie viruses from the melting ice caps, and scientists have revived some. Do I really want to read this? No. But yeah, I know there was one that did kill or unalive a village of people, I think. If anybody remembers that, let me know. I'll try and have a look for it and we can talk about it next time. But yeah, climate change is horrendous. And I think, you know, I'm a Gen Xer, and I think that our generation was the start of recognizing and noticing climate change going the wrong way. I remember my geography teacher in school, we did a whole section on ecology, which, you know, was not previously done in any classes. She was a great geography teacher, and she would talk about things like a toothpaste tube, for example, and all the different parts that went into the toothpaste tube, and was it actually necessary to have all of those parts? And when I was living in South Africa at the time, they didn't do recycling. So there was no point in breaking your stuff up into recycling methods because everything just got taken to the dump. I believe they've started doing recycling now, but a lot of it, I mean, I know they recycle glass because my dad used to work at Consul Glass, which made beer bottles. So they used to use glass to put into the furnace to recreate glass. So yeah, it just, so I know that they were recycling that, but everything else, it was just, at the time, it wasn't even thought of. So when I moved over here and I was staying with a friend, and she was trying to explain to me, this is the recycling that goes in here and this is the recycling that goes in there, and I was so confused until now I recycle as much as I possibly can. You know, it's just something that I do, and I have always put the bottle tops back onto the bottles, always. So the first time I opened a Coke bottle and the bottle top was still attached, I'm like, huh? You know, hit my nose like, huh, what's going on? But I always make sure that bottle top goes back on the bottle. Trip, if they could create human muscles in the lab, would people eat it? It has never lived. Important questions. That is very interesting. But well, what would the DNA be from? Because if humans eat other humans, it can cause brain problems, brain damage. I believe that was one of the problems with cannibalism and eating human flesh. If a human eats human flesh, it's like cows eating cows. That's how we got mad cow disease. We eat gammon. I don't, well, okay, that kind of gammon, yeah. I asked my brother and he said yes immediately, and he's almost a vegan. Trip, I've asked before too. The muscle cells are lab grown. Even so, it still has to come from some form of DNA, doesn't it? It's got to be created from some form of DNA. Very interesting question, though. Something to, have a look into. So I'm glad that they have created these corals that will resist heat and resist, fading. And the massive marine worms, however, do scare me. What if they learn to live on land? It would be like June, wouldn't it? Then I've got a really, really hilarious story here. Some of you may have seen this already. It's from the Idaho Statesman. This is brilliant. Idaho's hetero awesome fest was an absolute bust. This is an opinion piece by Scott McIntosh, written 20 hours ago. Idaho's hetero awesome fest turned out to be a dud. Videos, social media posts and news reports showed at most dozens of people in attendance. There were more people at President Trump's lame military parade last week. Maybe the festival had such low turnout because people realize they don't need a special occasion to celebrate heterosexuality. Every day is Hetero Awesome Day. Every month is Hetero Pride Month. They have every benefit and right. And that's true. So I thought this was really funny because, Trip, are you stoned? Because what if they learn to wear socks? That's the sort of thing a stoner would say. I'm always missing one sock. I don't know where they go. A couple of years ago, I had a collection of 15 odd socks. No idea where the other ones went to. What do you like, Trip? Maybe they be caterpillars. You are medicated. Okay. All right. I understand. Get the humour now. Not a problem. So can you, white men specifically saying, we need a hetero day. Why is it there a Pride Month? Because Pride people, LGBTQIA plus people are, a minority and have been disrespected and, not accepted into society. And it's horrendous. I actually saw a post from J.K. Rowling earlier on about women taking photos of other women or what they think or feel may be men in women's toilets to out them, and the problems that will cause. I'm 6 foot tall. I have been asked quite a few times in the past if I'm a man. I'm not a man. Not that it would bother me because I love being who I am. But can you imagine transphobes taking photos of women who they think because they're too tall or they've got broad shoulders? Swimmers have massively broad shoulders and lats from the work that they do. It's terrifying. It's terrifying. There are women out there who have facial hair, who are just, where are we going? Where is this all going? Hetero ain't being singled out, that's why. That's well put. Yes, well put, Elle, definitely. It's not being singled out. It is every day. It's like also men complaining when we have Women's Day. There's International Women's Day, and then there is other Women's Day as well. I know in South Africa, Women's Day, I think, is on the 9th of August. I'm not sure if that's the International Day, but I remember when I lived there, soon after Mandela became the Prime Minister, President rather, that day was created for women. So yeah, and they're like, why isn't there a Man's Day? Because every day is Man's Day. Every single day is Man's Day. Movies, this is carrying on with the article now. Movies, television shows, books and commercials celebrate heterosexuality all the time. Magazine ads and stores ooze heterosexual images and messages. Churches preach about the values of traditional marriage and families all the time. No, we don't need a special hetero awesome fest. Our society still celebrates it every day in ways big and small. But for some folks, like the organisers, it's a zero-sum game. They irrationally feel threatened by any recognition or support of LGBTQ plus people and their continuous quest for civil rights. They think the world is falling into moral decay if they see a movie or TV show with gay characters. They want to defund public television over gay cartoon characters and shut down library districts that have books with LGBTQ characters. They get triggered by rainbow display at a department store or a flag. Their heads explode when a transgender woman drinks beer. They send nasty messages to companies that post on social media supporting Pride Month, recognizing that their businesses perform better when their employees, all of their employees, can be their true selves at work and feel protected and valued. You know, when I was working, one of my first jobs, there was a gay lad that worked with us, and this was back when being gay was still, you know, around the time of AIDS, when it was still difficult for people to come out and so on. And I had a plethora of questions that I would ask him because I wanted to know what it was all about. It didn't bother me, but I wanted to know and understand what it was about. And a friend of mine, a family friend, who I would say was probably more like a relative than anything. This was again living in South Africa. He married a guy who had AIDS, and he passed away with AIDS, and then my friend passed away later on from AIDS as well. And it was just, you know, so sad that they weren't around now when they could receive that medication that would, you know, help them to live longer lives. Trip. I wish J.K. Rowling would mention that sexual attacks are done by cis men by a huge majority. She should be telling her fans to be aware of the men in their lives if she actually gave a poop. Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree 100%. There's a movement at the moment on TikTok. I can't remember what it's called now. I've just been watching footage on it today. Oh my goodness, the name of it. It's on my phone, you see, and I can't look on my phone. And it's all about abusive men. And women have recorded footage, mostly vocal footage, of their partners and their husbands shouting at them, telling them how much they dislike them. I think it's men hating women or something, men hating their partners. Let's have a look. Hang on, let me open another thing here. Let's have a look. Sorry, I'm just having a look here. I'm just having a look. Sorry, guys, I can't find it. I'll probably talk. I'll give it. I'll talk about it on Friday, actually, or on Sunday in the Friday or Sunday live. But it's all this footage of men completely telling their wives and girlfriends that they're going to unalive them, that they hate them, that they don't want to be with them. Why are they with them? It's like you say, it is cisgendered men who are the biggest unalivers. of women and of men. And of men. I know quite a few trans women, and never, ever have I heard of any trans woman harming a cisgendered woman. I've been going to nightclub bathrooms in the 80s, and there were many trans women in the bathrooms there, and never ever had any issues. We would compliment each other's clothes and, you know, makeup tips and all of that lot, and it just never even crossed my mind that there was anything different between us and them. Men's humour when you get into groups, yeah, I've heard it. I had an incident last year about that. Men's humour when we get into groups is so easily led into sex or bullet point slogans. It's very frustrating, but I know it's because they don't have the time to research, I hope, anyway. I think it's also a case of, you know, guys who are aware of that kind of thing calling it out. And, you know, I was at a festival last year, and I think it was last year. Yeah, it was last year. And I was sat with somebody that I knew, talked to them before, and he started saying that he'd met this, you know, he was in a pub and there was this woman there, and he tried to chat her up and she said no, and he was like, you know, well, you shouldn't dress like that, you're asking for it. And, you know, I was like, whoa, you can't say that. He said, no, well, I said, no. I said, it's just not acceptable. So I haven't spoken to him since. He actually did walk away, and I was like, I can't speak to you right now, because what you're saying is misogynistic, it is patriarchal, and it's just wrong. You're blaming women for them being raped when they don't have a sign above their head that says, you can rape me. The man makes that decision. And there was another story that I heard today as well. It was absolutely terrifying. This woman had given birth, and at 4 days after she had a C-section, cesarean section for anybody who doesn't know. So that's a big cut across the stomach, and they obviously give birth to the baby that way. And so she'd come out of hospital and she was in postpartum depression, and her husband said that he wanted to have intercourse because it was his right and that she needs to do it. And she's like, no, you know, the doctors have told me I need 40 days to heal, you know, because she's got stitches, obviously. You know, she will have lost blood, she will have lost fluids. Giving birth to a child, I haven't, so I can't, you know, attest to it, but I have miscarried, and it's an awful experience. It does take fluids out of your body anyway. So she decided to stop him from being so mardy that she would, and then she ended up in hospital and had got a virus from it, some sort of septicemia, and then had a heart attack because of it. That is how little some men care about women. They only care about themselves and their own wants or needs. You know, the guy has a hand. And then men blaming women for the fact that they cheated because the woman wasn't giving it up. It just makes no sense to me. Makes absolutely no sense to me. The old, wear that, you deserve it excuse. Yeah, what were you drinking? You shouldn't drink that, you know. Yeah, it is absolutely wrong that women should be told how not to dress. And it does make me cross. It does make me very, very angry. You know, I am a feminist, and I dislike the fact that I've been in that situation. I've been in many situations with men who have been, you know, touchy-feely. I was 14 years old in my school uniform the first time I was catcalled. 14. A guy in a car, window wound down. This was in the days of windy uppy, windy downy windows. And yeah. I was on a bus, school bus. We were going to school athletics thing. And there was a guy that pulled up next to the bus. We were an all-girls class. And he pulled up next to the bus and he had his thing out. And he was like, you know, look, that guy, you know, I just... Yeah, where do they get this from? Where do they... It is like... It's a control thing. It is a control thing. They want to control women. Trip, when a dude says women shouldn't dress like that because men find it attractive and it can be dangerous, well, women like diamonds and clothes. They should just lie and con men to get it. See? Well, it's not that though, Trip. It's like, you know, I used to go out in shorts and fishnet stockings back in the 90s, you know, with boots. And it's what I wanted to wear. Why should I have to think about a man who can't control himself? You know, if he can't control himself, that's not my problem. But it's made my problem because I'm dressed like that. Dude, I'm getting angry. Where's my weed? Go and have a smoke. Go and have a smoke. Have one for me. Oh, I quit in December last year, and because of my running. And obviously it's made a massive difference with my breathing, but I do miss a little bit of the green every now and again. So yeah, one last story before I go for the evening, because I need to have a bath. I'm gonna have a nice soak in the bath and go to bed early. Excuse me, guys. So I did. You vape your flower. Even so, that affects. I need edibles. I need edibles. So I did talk about this story, excuse me guys, previously, but now this is dated, is today the 24th? Yeah, this is dated today. And this is in the NME, the New Musical Express. Senior MP joins calls for Marilyn Manson's Brighton gig to be cancelled. So I did talk about this the other day. The council has a responsibility to take action where there are risks of discrimination, harassment and victimisation. A senior MP has joined the calls for an upcoming Marilyn Manson gig to be dropped. Controversy around the upcoming shows was shared last week when Millie Earle, council leader in Bournemouth, Christchurch and Poole, pushed for a gig in Dorset on Halloween to be cancelled. This, she said, was in an effort to reinforce the message that violence against women and girls isn't something that's acceptable in our community. The MP added that she had already written to the company that operates the venue hosting Manson to express my concern and say that she doesn't feel Marilyn Manson reflects the values we have. Controversy over Manson comes as a slew of allegations arose against the metal singer in recent years and saw him accused of rape and DV by 4 women. He repeatedly denied the accusations as falsehoods, and the case ended at the start of 2025 when prosecutors said the claims against Manson had exceeded the statute of limitations and that they were unable to prove charges of SA beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, another MP, Sean Berry, from the Green Party, has joined calls to axe some of the musicians' UK shows. The Green MP and former leader of the party in England and Wales recently outlined multiple policies she felt the show went against and argued that it would contradict the city's well-renowned values. The policies included the city plan, which says there is no place in our city for fear of crime, violence or abuse, via The Guardian, as well as how the gig would allow children as young as 14 to attend. I know that the kids would have to be, you know, with an adult, but yeah, I used to love Manson's music. I did. But I have tried that, take away the artist from the art, but I can't, because those sort of things have happened to me. So it's like, no, there needs to be some sort of education around this. And yeah, Manson is a shock rocker. He is. That's what he is. And I don't see anything wrong with that. In fact, him and Trent Reznor used to be friends. They did have a fallout. And that fallout has never been fixed again. It was apparently Manson accused Reznor of destroying some record. That's it. Reznor recorded Antichrist Superstar, I think, for Manson, and he accused Reznor of destroying those originals, but he hadn't. But I think there was underlying issues as well around what was going on and the way that he was treating women. Trent Reznor's been married for years. He's been married for years. So, if I ever did find out that something like that was going on, though, I would not buy any more of their music. Rammstein, there's another one. There's another one that I loved their music. I've seen them live and they were brilliant, but I just can't. I just can't because of what they allegedly did. In a letter to the council leader Bella Sankey and signed by numerous groups and the University of Sussex Student Union, she wrote, many survivors in Brighton and Hove and organisations supporting them will have serious concerns about this booking and its wider impact on other people visiting the city centre, local residents and the wider community. She continued saying that while we should protect freedom of expression, there is an obvious risk to community cohesion and the council has separate equalities obligations to foster good relations between people who share protected characteristics and people who do not share them. The council has a responsibility to take action where there are risks of discrimination, harassment and victimisation, she added, before saying that she was concerned about the message sent out by providing a platform for this individual at our city's biggest publicly owned venue and what this will mean to survivors. Manson's One Assassination Under God tour dates will kick off in October with a slot at the Brighton Centre. Neither Manson nor his team have spoken out about the comments made by UK MPs, and it is not yet clear whether or not event organisers are considering cancelling the upcoming show. The four women who filed the lawsuits against Manson included Game of Thrones actor Esme Bianco. She settled the case in January 2023. His former personal assistant, Ashley Walters, and model Ashley Morgan Smithline. She later recanted her claims. The fourth woman remained anonymous, but Evan Rachel Wood, actress from Westworld, accused him of SA and DV during their 3-year relationship, and he denied these claims. And check out my Marilyn Manson feed. There's a whole load of stuff that I've done about him. And she goes into her story about what he did to her. She was a child. He groomed her. He plied her with drugs and alcohol. And he abused her. And pretty much the same as what the Tates do and what other groomers do. Exactly the same thing. It is a control method. It is, a way of getting this younger person to behave how they want. Jerry Lee Lewis, his wife was, I think she was 14 when he married her. Elvis Presley, how old was Priscilla? In Iran, today, men are allowed to marry girls as young as 9 years old. As aforementioned, prosecutors said the claims against Manson had exceeded the statute of limitations in January and the case against him was dropped. The controversy around him did lead to his record label manager and booking agent severing ties with him. There is also a Channel 4 documentary. It's a 4-part documentary that you can watch on Channel 4, and I think it's also available on YouTube. And it's all about his, interviews with the people who were SA'd, as well as previous band members who sort of insinuate that, yeah, that's what was going on. So something, if you want to have a look at, have a look at my Marilyn Manson videos. Anyway, it's 7 o'clock. I have some raspberries and yogurt waiting for me, and I'm going to sit and put my feet up now and probably fall asleep in my chair. Guys, if you can, please support my cancer Race for Life that I'm doing. I thank everybody who has already donated. I really, 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 really thank you. It's a massive help. And I don't know if I'm going to have anybody with me at the race who can take photos, but I know that they take photos at the end, so I will get a photo at the end. I'm not going to be filming while I'm running. I'm going to be too busy trying to breathe and not fall over. So have a wonderful evening. I'm going to go live on Friday afternoon again at 4 p.m. before Darren and before Aid Thompson and everybody else, because I know we have a full Friday afternoon. And I'm going to go live again on Sunday evening, also at about 6 p.m. And I'll talk about my race and how it went, if I survive it. So have a wonderful evening. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the comments. And I'll speak to you later. Blessed be. Mwah.